Welcome to the Sharkpreneur Podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur Podcast. This is Seth Greene here with my co-host Kevin Harrington, one of the original sharks on Shark Tank. And Kelli ONeil is our very special guest today. Kelli is an award-winning entrepreneur, a best-selling author, speaker, and a television host. She's been named by Seth Godin as one of the most innovative people in America. She's been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, Fortune, Forbes, NBC, Huffington Post, and the rest of the alphabet soup of media outlets. She's a best-selling author and shared the stage with industry legends such as Tim Ferris, Jack Canfield, Tracey, Victor Hansen, Les Brown, Hsieh, among many, many others. She's also the host of the Profitology Podcast on iTunes and the executive producer and co-host of the Las Vegas Home Makeover show with her client and longtime friend, celebrity interior designer Kelli Ellis. Kelli, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Kelli, hey, great. You've got a great story, Kelli. It's fabulous to have you here today. And where are you based right this minute?
I am in Las Vegas. But I'm in the outskirts, so you know what they say about us Las Vegas people. We don't go down to the Strip unless we have to. Just for
unfortunately, I had to go there last week. I was at the Consumer Electronics Show.
Oh yes,
that was I say that's 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag when they when we get that show going because of the traffic and the restaurants, and although it's a fabulous show, so I loved it.
That's why I live in the suburbs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good to have you today.
Thank you.
Kelli, you've got a very successful brand called Marketing to Millionaires, but you've recently launched something called Profitology. What is Profitology all about?
So Profitology is all about the study and the art, and it's really a process of helping people to really accelerate their personal path. And this is really an important piece. It's their personal path to profit and freedom. So it really is about helping them dial in and design a business that it's intentionally designed from the get-go to work with the way that they work best to help them create more profit. And at the same time, it's not just about like working more and making more money. It's about how do you actually increase your personal income and decrease your workload at the same time.
So Kelli, is this geared towards individuals or more business owners? And if it's business, what size company will this apply to?
So I personally tend to work with, here's the thing. All organizations and all leaders could learn from what it is that we're teaching, because it really does start with working with the individuals within your organization. But the entrepreneurs that I tend to work with are anywhere from, people that are starting up and want to do business right, they want to create it right the first time. They don't want to mess around. But I tend to work with companies, especially like my sweet spot are companies that are kind of within like the $750,000 range up to like the $4 or $5 million, and they're ready to scale, but their business has been predicated and designed specifically on the owner, and it's generally outgrown them, right? So things are starting to fall apart. Clients are complaining, systems are breaking, the owner wants to pull their hair out, that sort of thing.
Got you. Give me an example of some kind of a transformation. I like to use the word magical transformation, if we could, on somebody that you've worked with. For anyone listening to us right now, everybody likes to hear, about the conversion, of before and after kind of thing. So give us an example.
So one of my clients is a very, very well-known local naturopathic doctor out of the Bay Area in California. She's actually has clients all over the world just because she specializes in, she has a specialty. She specializes in endocrinology and autoimmune diseases. And I've been helping her off and on grow her practice patient-wise, patient load-wise for the last 10 years. But it's been very sporadic, right? It's like she calls me in to do some consulting, I help her out with whatever it is, and I go away. Well, what happened was her business hit a tipping point, and as she became more well-known and the referrals started flooding in, all of a sudden, she did not have the business designed for that. So what was happening for her as a business owner, and what she would tell you is she's pulling her hair out. She had patients calling and complaining all the time because, she was having staffing issues. She didn't know how to fix anything. Her systems were completely antiquated. She had systems for a couple $100,000 a year practice, but her business had already reached, just tipped over 7 figures. And she wanted to pull her hair out, right? So she was leaving money on the table. She was losing money. But more importantly, she was losing her life, right? She has a little guy who's now 6. And, she was having trouble spending time with him. She was, she had to work on her days off. She was pulling 12 to 15 hour days, trying to run her business. And she started to actually, as much as she loves doctoring, she started hating to run her business.
Gotcha.
So she called me in, and I went through our Profitology process on her business. And we really just revamped it from the inside out. We looked at everything. We looked at the leadership. What's going on? We looked at the team. Is the team performing and functioning? Are our operations systemized? Is this something that is helping you scale and grow, or is it something that's hindering you? We looked at her marketing. We redid her branding, and we elevated all of it. And, essentially I overhauled her entire business within 6 months. Within 6 months, her revenue went up 70% over the previous year. And she's on track at this point to triple the business in 2017. And again, and this is the piece of Profitology. It's not just about that. The piece is she's actually working less than she was before. She actually has peace of mind because her team is now running the business. Everyone is aligned. We all know, what direction the company's heading. And she has time to, she's taken more vacation in the last 6 months than she's probably taken in the last 6 years. So, beautiful. Yeah.
So you've set up systems as part of that whole process. And what, she now, is this all the way across the board, like CRM systems and phone answering and hiring and just, she's a very good at what she does. She's a doctor, but she doesn't understand really all the other things that are necessary to run that business in the right fashion. So,
and here's the thing. She's actually pretty great at business especially for, and I apologize to the doctors that are listening. A lot doctors are generally healers, right? So they're not necessarily, business isn't really their thing. They want a doctor. She's actually pretty great at business for someone who's a doctor, but it outgrew her level of expertise. And the biggest issue is she can't manage a practice of this size with this type of patient load in 2-minute increments, popping in and out of her room, seeing patients.
Right.
Yep.
How did you invent the Profitology process?
How did I invent it? It's just literally, I've been doing this for 16 years with small business owners and entrepreneurs, Seth, as you know. And previous to that, I was in corporate America, and I really was I was reinventing brands. So in corporate America, that's what I did. I reinvented and repositioned brands for either be acquired or to go public during the .com boom. And then I took that knowledge and I started working in small businesses. And in small businesses, it's not just obviously about getting the clients. That's kind of the easier part. It's what do you do once your business scales? And I started it was just really by trial and error and working through different clients. And also, quite frankly, in my own business, I was my best ideal client. My business got to a point where I hated it. And I love what I do. And I hated coming to work because I felt like the highest paid janitor on the planet. I felt like every day that I came into work, all I did was clean junk up. And I would not usually use that word, but since we're on a international podcast here, yeah. That's all I did. I would come in and I would be handling team issues and client issues, and I'd be apologizing. And I started hearing this awful phrase. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, but oh my gosh, Kelli, we love working with you. In fact, you're the only reason we're still here, because working with your company's awful.
Yeah.
He's not getting back to me, blah, blah, blah. And so I really invented the process that way. It was, I had to reinvent my own business to save my sanity. And then I started applying this to other businesses, and I just found this process that it kind of makes the crazy melt away.
I have to ask the question, when I think of proctology, I think of, a pair of rubber gloves. Okay. I say no pain, no gain, right? So you actually have to really get in there and do an analysis of their business, right? And Absolutely. So it might be a little painful along the way, and they may have to make some tough decisions. So that's why somebody that has a business that needs your services, that's why they have to call somebody in from the outside. They're too close to it. Yeah, they're dealing with the complaints, and they realize I've got a problem, but they sometimes don't have the ability to rise above it, look down upon what's happening on a day-to-day basis, and actually start implementing some of these necessary techniques and systems. And I mean, do you actually have you put software systems in place, or how technical and detailed do you get with making these changes?
So it depends on the business. And yes, like as an example, in the case of the doctor, here's a perfect example. In the case of the doctor, she had 10 different systems trying to do one thing. She had no marketing automation. So absolutely, I installed what's called a EHR, electronic health records. I installed an entire new system. I re-systemized the entire company. I automated all of their marketing. I use a program called Infusionsoft. So I did an entire marketing and sales automation system. I created the processes for them. And it's not to say that I do this all myself, right? So, I know where my limitations are. I'm not going to be coding anything. That's not my bailiwick. I'm the strategist. So, I bring in different teams, different people to be able to automate things. My job is to figure out, where are things not working well? Where could they be working better? How can we make the crazy melt away? And then bringing in those different systems. And yes, even down to the voicemail, their call flow is insane. So I installed a brand new entire voicemail system that automates and routes calls to the appropriate people, and also offers sales and marketing while our patients are waiting. So they're hearing those messages and being routed to the right places.
The other day, I was at an office, actually a gentleman, Bartnell and Jury, owns a company called Progressive Dental Marketing. And he's got hundreds of dentists that he does I think kind of what you're talking about, but his vertical, he goes after the dental marketplace. So now you've talked about, this one particular client. Do you have any verticals that you specialize in, or are you open? Do you cross, all entrepreneurial borders?
I do. And so that's actually, Seth was talking about how I had launched I have a previous program that's kind of my flagship. What I'm really well known for is marketing to affluent clients. So I specialize in working with clients that are going after high-end clients. So as an example, the naturopathic doctor, I don't know necessarily that, could I help, regular doctors if they wanted to study our process? Absolutely. But, for some of my more in-depth services, I tend to go after cash pay practitioners, or people that want concierge medical practices. So anyone who's really offering services that are targeted toward high-end buyers, that's my sweetest spot.
Okay.
Kelli, you've given so much great advice to other business owners and entrepreneurs. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
This is my best one. My very, very first coach. I'm not a dummy, right? So when I got into business, I was like, hey, look, I know what I know, but I also know that I don't know, and that's the stuff that can get me. So the very first thing I did when I hired, or when I started my business, is I hired a coach. Have you ever heard of Alan Weiss, the $1 Million Consultant?
I've heard of him, yes.
That was my very, very first coach. And he said something to me, because when I started working with him and I was flooded with all this opportunity, and I was so excited, and he said, kid, I'm going to teach you something. And I said, oh yeah, what's that? And he said, in order to be successful, you need to be willing to accept rejection and reject acceptance.
Okay.
And I said, got it. So it really is about, when you have this clarity, which is actually the very first step of the Profitology system, when you have clarity about who you are, where you're going, what it is that you're doing, and what it is that you're looking to accomplish, not only in your business, but ultimately in your life, right? Because that's the bigger picture here that no one talks about. Yes, we're business owners, but I don't work to work 75 hours a week. I have a life outside of that I want to enjoy.
Yes.
And so when you're really focused, it becomes very clear, and you can start, when opportunities are coming your way, you can start saying, no, that's not in alignment. And it really helped me. It actually helped me turn down a lot of opportunities that a lot of people would have jumped at. But when I was turning those opportunities down, the people that were offering them to me were so shocked. They're like, you said no? But they were like, well, I need to interview you about why you said no. And then I would explain this concept that, that's just not in the direction of where I'm taking my business in my life. So it's a great opportunity, but not for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many hours in a day. And so that's great advice. So I'm going to shift gears into how you market yourself, because you're now talking about your business. So obviously you've had some great times with some pretty cool people, Jack Canfield and Les Brown and Tim Ferris. I've actually shared the stage with all of them myself. And so I love it. I love, hanging out with some of the cool people out in the market. So is in terms of how you build your business, is this one of the things you like to do, is get out and speak and then build your funnel, so to speak? Is that kind of, walk me through that and just how do you get some of these great clients?
Sure. So here's the thing that I want to say about this. And again, this is the way that I design businesses for everyone, is find what it is that you're really best at and align with that. You don't need to do a gazillion things to be highly successful. You need to do a few things that you can do really, really, really well and do them consistently. So one of the things that I tend to really enjoy, and also, I don't suck at, right, is speaking. So part of how I built my business was, I started out speaking at local events, and then people would hear about me, or people would be in the audience and they would recommend me to other events. So speaking is huge for me. When I speak, I can fill my client base for a year in one engagement. So speaking is fantastic. As Seth said, I'm launching my Profitology Podcast, which I'm super excited about. Love to have you both on as guests.
Okay.
And so podcasting is definitely, especially to reach higher end clients, is phenomenal, because people are busy. When I go do my cardio at night, I'm popping in podcasts and I'm just listening to podcast after podcast. Social media, I definitely use social media to create brand awareness. And then it really is about building networks and building, I am a deep diver in my relationships. Again, I am of the school, and I think this has to do with my marketing to the affluent background. I am of the school that I'm about quality over quantity. I'd rather have a network of people that I have deep relationships with, where we're all helping each other out, referring business, serving our clients, than, having 15,000 people that I'm talking to. So yeah, those are my main ones. Yeah.
So I love, by the way, Vegas is one of my favorite towns, because I say, and people ask me how I build, my business, and I end up speaking at a lot of trade shows, and I was at the CES show. I'll do the hardware show. There's a show next week called the Sports and Licensing Show. Well, I think it's the 16th, 17th. Then there's an affiliate summit there. So I'm in Vegas 25 to 30 times a year.
And call me up, and I'll show you the back roads.
Yeah, so I'm like, I did find one machine that pays out every time, and it's called the ATM machine. It never fails to spit out those, those bills that I need to keep up with the rest. But no, Vegas is a great town, and so a great place to meet a lot of people, actually, and I would think maybe a place for you to network. at a lot of these conferences also.
That's why I moved here. So
yeah.
I am all about life balance. Another one of the, you asked me about my best advice. I will also say, and I wanted to share this on here, the biggest question that I got, and it was the most life-changing, game-changing question for me, was, Kelli, how much life are you willing to trade for that? Whatever it is that you're doing, how much life are you willing to trade for that?
There you go.
And it really was a game changer for me in structuring my business, because I was, on the road constantly. I was always in Vegas or LA for speaking engagements. I lived in the Bay Area, and I lived in the Bay Area my entire life. I was a Silicon Valley baby. And when I asked that question, when I got asked that question, I started really reevaluating the things that I'm doing in my business, because I was doing everything, right? I was social media, speaking. I mean, you name it, I was attempting to do it all. And I was burning myself into the ground. In fact, created a health crisis for myself. And it was in that moment when I started asking myself that question, and I was like, why am I not living in a place where it's conducive for me to be doing business? And so I made this decision. My friends, actually, I have this little section on my website called Fun Facts About Kelli. My friends have just recently stopped asking me if I'm moving back, because they never thought I was going to move. I lived there my entire life. And I just one day went, I'm moving to Vegas. And they're like, no, you're not. And I said, yeah, I'm moving to Vegas. I said, this way I can pop down to the Strip. I can deliver engagements. I can network. I see great people coming in and out of town all the time. And I can go home and be with my puppies and my honey at night and, live my life, because I was missing out on so much life being on the road all the time. And so that's actually why I moved to Vegas.
Kelli, what would be the first step for someone to get started turning around their business and implementing Profitology?
Well, it all starts on getting clarity, right? And what I find is, there's a great Mark Twain quote that I'm probably going to botch right now, but he says something like, I can get anyone anything that they want as long as they know what they want. And the truth of the matter is, 98% of the time when I get on the phone with an organization or a business owner or a leader, and I start talking to them about what it is that they really want, and I start with their personal life, they're kind of like, they have some vague idea, but they haven't really thought it through. So I literally start with helping them get extraordinary clarity about what it is that they want in their life and how they want to utilize their business and their organization to fulfill those desires, whether they be innovation desires or creativity, or whether it be financially or freedom-based. Maybe they have one of my clients, Kelli Ellis, who's a celebrity interior designer. She does not want to be tied anymore to, just doing interior design in Orange County. She wants to be free to travel around the world. So we helped her create some alternative income streams so that was it this spring? This spring, she went and lived in Barcelona for a few months with her honey,
Wow.
because we designed our business that way. So we start with clarity. So the very, very first step, and I'll give you guys a free tool. If you go to my website, which is kellyoneil.com, and that's, I don't know if it'll pop up, KELLYONEIL, 1L. I'm not the surf company. If you go on there, I actually have a brand new quiz called the Profitpreneur quiz. And it identifies 9 different profile types of entrepreneurs based on not only my experience, but all of my research and my studies in NLP and human psychology and everything else. And it helps you figure out what really is your strength. And I tell people, when they get their quiz results, I tell them all about, what their profit accelerators are, what they need to stay away from. Because how many people are leaving so much money on the table by trying to push a boulder uphill doing stuff that they have no business doing themselves, because either they hate it or they're not good at it, right? So it's, what are the things that are causing you profit leaks and decelerating your profit? Who do you need to best partner with based on your Profitology or your Profitpreneur profile type? Because if you can partner with someone else and you're really brilliant at, strategy, and they're really brilliant at automating, well, now you've got a match made in heaven and you guys need each other. So I talk about, how to create and form partnerships that help you accelerate your path to success and freedom.
So Kelli, the world that we're all in is getting this whole, disruption in the digital space. In my world, as seen on TV, there's 50% fewer people watching TV today than there was 10 years ago because it's moving into a digital world. So what are you seeing in, whether it's your world or your client's world, in any of this, realm of digital disruption?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on. Number one, people are absolutely inundated with content. So if your brand isn't dialed, I tell my clients, if you're not standing out, you're invisible, right? If you are not disrupting rising above the noise, and I'm not just talking about being, disruptive for the sake of being disruptive, but if you are not innovating, if you are not clearing your message, if you are not rising above the noise and talking directly to your target clients, then you're stifling your business. And the other thing that I really look at is I'm thinking about in my ideal clients. And for me, I work with a lot of different clients. Privately, my clients, again, they tend to be, in the upwards of the $1 million category. And what I like to do is I really think about my ideal clients. They're time crunched. They are looking for digital content on demand. I recently launched a TV show. It's on demand. You can watch it instantly. You can binge watch it. I mean, that is how people are consuming content now. Everything has to be mobile friendly. Everything has to be at their fingertips. And it also has to be quick. There was another study. Did you guys see this, where we now realize that goldfish have a higher attention span than human beings?
Yes.
So
I saw that. 8 seconds, I think it is, right?
Sad.
Yeah.
So you not, again, your branding has to be dialed. You've got to be able to rise above the noise, and you need to really take into account your target audience and how they're consuming information. And it used to be that we would do these big, long, huge things, but just even this as an example, Seth does my podcast, and they're phenomenal, by the way, you guys. If you were looking for people to do your podcast, this is your man. And really, I do it in when are people most likely to listen to podcasting? When they're driving. They're most likely not driving more than maybe 30 minutes, right? Or if they have a super long commute, maybe an hour.
Right.
Or listening to it when they're on the treadmill and they're captive.
Right.
So 30 minutes, right? Most people, it's like if you do 30 minutes, you're going to be perfectly timed, and then people are going to get on a machine or whatever they're doing and be able to consume the content quickly.
Fantastic.
And that brings us to the end of our 30 minutes. Kelli, fascinating interview. For those of our folks watching and listening who want to learn more about Profitology, best place to send them is kellyoneil.com.
Yep, absolutely. That's the best place to start. We've got everything you need there.
Awesome. Let's go to kellyoneil.com and make sure you also subscribe to the Profitology Podcast on iTunes.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Kelli, great. Look forward to meeting you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Get me a number from Seth.
All right. 2 thumbs up to you. All right.
Thanks so much for listening to this special productivity series of the Direct Response Marketing Podcast. I've interviewed hundreds of the most successful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and CEOs all over the world, and I want to share with you one of the biggest ways I've discovered to triple your productivity that I've learned from these amazing people. Even better, I'll pay you $500 to test drive it. Just go to takethe500challenge.com. That's www.takethe500challenge.com to learn more. Thanks so much for listening.